Since 2020, more casinos have closed in Las Vegas than opened. Tropicana demolished, Mirage closed, Whiskey Pete's folded, Buffalo Bill's operating less than 10% of the time. Eastside Cannery shut down. Vegas is contracting, not expanding. Strip revenue declining, visitation down. Properties aging, debt crushing operators. This is my prediction. 10 casinos that will close by 2030. Some are obvious. Others will surprise you. Let's rank them from least likely to most likely and see which Vegas properties are living on borrowed time. Number 10, Luxor, 30% likely. Luxor's buffet closed March 2025. That's always a warning sign. When a casino closes its buffet, it means they're cutting costs and don't see a path to profitability through renovation. The pyramid design is iconic but outdated. You can't update a pyramid without massive structural work. The theme doesn't resonate with modern tourists. Nobody cares about ancient Egypt aesthetics in 2025. MGM hasn't invested significantly in Luxor in years. The property is deteriorating. Reviews mention dated rooms, worn carpets, and aging facilities. But it's still generating revenue, and occupancy is decent. Why only 30%? Because Luxor's location is good. South Strip between Mandalay Bay and Excalibur. Convention business keeps rooms filled. MGM can milk it for years without major investment. But if Strip revenue keeps declining and MGM needs to cut underperformers, Luxor is vulnerable. The land is worth more than the aging pyramid generating thin margins. Number 9. Flamingo, 40% likely, opened 1946, oldest continuously operating casino on Strip. The Flamingo has been renovated piecemeal over decades, but never fully modernized. It's essentially a patchwork of additions and updates that never cohered into a quality product. Caesars owns 4 properties within walking distance: Flamingo, linq, Harrahs, and Paris. That's too much mid-tier and budget inventory competing with itself. If Caesars needs to consolidate, Flamingo is expendable. The property trades on Bugsy Siegel history and the Flamingo theme. But that nostalgia only goes so far when rooms are small, amenities are limited, and quality is budget tier despite Center Strip location. Why only 40%? Because Center Strip location is valuable. Flamingo fills rooms consistently even if margins are thin. Caesars would rather keep it operating at low profit than deal with demolition costs and lost inventory. But Caesars is drowning in $12.3 billion of debt. If they need to sell assets or close underperformers, Flamingo is on the list. Number 8, linq, 50% likely, former Imperial Palace rebranded 2014. The linq has no identity. It's not luxury, it's not budget, it's not themed, it's generic. The rebrand from Imperial Palace didn't create a compelling reason to stay there versus literally anywhere else. Caesars owns linq, Harrahs, Flamingo, and Paris, all within a few blocks. They're cannibalizing each other. The linq is the most expendable because it's the newest rebrand with the least brand loyalty. The linq Promenade outdoor shopping district is successful, but the hotel itself, forgettable. Small rooms, minimal amenities. Nothing special. Why only 50%? Same reason as Flamingo. Center Strip location, decent occupancy. Caesars would rather operate it at thin margins than close it. But if Caesars needs to consolidate properties to reduce debt, closing linq and redirecting guests to Harrahs, Flamingo, or Paris makes financial sense. Number 7. New York, 60% likely, opened 1997 with New York City skyline replica. The theme is aging poorly. The fake skyline looks cheap in 2025. The casino is cramped and maze-like. The property hasn't had a major renovation since opening. MGM connects New York to Park MGM via a bridge. You can essentially treat them as one property. If MGM closed New York and shifted guests to Park MGM, they'd save massive operational costs. The land is valuable. South Strip between Excalibur and Park MGM. MGM could demolish New York and build something new or sell the land. Why 60%? Because MGM hasn't announced plans and New York still generates revenue. But the property is showing serious age, and MGM is focused on premium properties like Bellagio and Harrah. Budget properties like New York aren't strategic priorities. Prediction: closed by 2028, demolished by 2030. Number 6. Harrahs, 65% likely, open 1973, last major renovation 2013, 12 years ago. Harrahs is generic. No theme, no identity, no reason to stay there versus any other property. It's dated and needs $500 million in renovations Caesars can't afford. Caesars already identified Harrahs as vulnerable in our previous video. It's one of 4 Caesars properties competing with each other in Center Strip. If they close one, Harrahs makes the most sense because it has the least brand differentiation. The land is extremely valuable. Center Strip between Venetian and linq. Prime real estate Caesars could sell or develop. Why 65%? Because Caesars is in worse financial shape than MGM. They need to reduce debt and consolidate operations. Harrahs is expendable. Prediction: closed by 2027, sold or redeveloped by 2030. Number 5. Excalibur, 75% likely. Excalibur is the worst-rated strip property on TripAdvisor. Reviews mention musty smells, stained carpets, broken fixtures, dated everything. The property desperately needs $300 to $500 million in renovations. MGM won't spend that money. You can't de-theme a castle without demolishing it. The structure is the theme. You can't modernize it without rebuilding from scratch. MGM CFO Jonathan Halkyard said in 2022 that MGM is considering new tower in front of where Excalibur currently sits. That's code for demolition confirmed. Excalibur sits on 50 acres of prime South Strip land. That land is worth far more than continuing to operate a 35-year-old castle generating low room rates and thin margins. Why only 75%? Because MGM hasn't officially announced closure and Excalibur still fills rooms for conventions and budget travelers. But the writing is on the wall. Prediction: closed by 2027, demolished by 2029. Number 4. Circus Circus, 80% likely. Circus Circus is the worst property in Vegas. 300+ one-star reviews on TripAdvisor mentioning dirty rooms, safety concerns, outdated facilities, poor service. Phil Ruffin is actively selling it. He told Forbes in January 2025, "I'm selling it for the land, 102 acres. That's the land play." Ruffin bought Circus Circus for $825 million in 2019. He expects to sell for $5 billion. That's a 6 times return based entirely on land value, not casino operations. Whoever buys it will demolish and rebuild. The existing property is unsalvageable. You can't fix Circus Circus with renovations. It needs to be raised. Why only 80% instead of 100%? Because Ruffin hasn't found a buyer yet. At $5 billion asking price, not many buyers qualify, but it's being actively marketed for sale. Prediction: sold by 2027, closed by 2028, demolished by 2030. Number 3, Tropicana site, 85% likely to stay empty, already demolished October 9, 2024. The site is supposed to become an Oakland A's baseball stadium and New Bally's resort. But as we covered in our A's stadium video, that project is a disaster. John Fisher can't find investors. Nevada hasn't released the $380 million in public funding because Fisher hasn't met the conditions. The timeline is impossible. The financing doesn't exist. Most likely outcome: the Tropicana site sits vacant for years like Echelon did. Eventually someone buys the land and builds something else. But it won't be a baseball stadium. Why 85%? Because there's a small chance Fisher finds financing or sells the team and stadium rights to someone who can actually build it. But that's unlikely. Prediction: site remains empty through 2028 minimum, probably longer. Number 2. Resorts World failure scenario. 70% likely to close or restructure. $4.3 billion to build. Opened June 2021. Resorts World is collapsing financially. First quarter 2025, EBITDA down 75% to $10 million on $166 million revenue. That's a disaster. The property can't sustain these losses. Genting, the parent company, is publicly traded and answerable to shareholders. How long can they fund a property losing money every quarter? 3 scenarios. 1. Genting sells Resorts World at a massive loss. 2. The property declares bankruptcy and restructures. 3. It continues operating at losses until Genting gives up. Why only 70% instead of higher? Because Resorts World is new, only 4 years old. Genting might keep funding losses hoping for turnaround. And bankruptcy restructuring doesn't always mean full closure. But if revenue keeps declining and losses continue, something has to give. Prediction: sold, restructured, or partially closed by 2029. Number 1. Fontainebleau bankruptcy scenario. 80% likely to restructure or close. $3.7 billion to build. Fontainebleau is losing $400,000 per day. They need $4 million daily revenue to break even. They're generating $2.1 million. They have over $2 billion in debt. That's unsustainable. Nobody can lose $400,000 per day indefinitely. The debt service alone is crushing. In the first 18 months, over a dozen executives left or were fired, including CFO, CTO, COO, and CMO. 60 table game dealers laid off May 2025 because the casino floor is empty. This is a property in crisis. Fontainebleau will either declare bankruptcy and restructure, or get sold at a massive loss, or close sections to cut costs. Why 80%? Because there's a small chance new management turns it around or a buyer rescues it. But the trajectory is bankruptcy. Prediction: bankruptcy filing or major restructuring by 2027, possible partial or full closure by 2030. The pattern is clear. Vegas is contracting, strip revenue declining, properties aging, debt-crushing operators. The business model that worked for 50 years doesn't work anymore. Budget and mid-tier properties can't compete with mega resorts or afford necessary renovations. Luxury properties like Resorts World and Fontainebleau are too expensive to operate profitably with declining visitation. By 2030, expect fewer properties on the Strip. The ones that survive will be either ultra-luxury for wealthy tourists or well-run operations like Wynn. Everything in the middle is vulnerable. This isn't speculation. This is trajectory. 5 years from now, at least half of these properties will be closed, sold, or demolished. Which properties do you think will close? Did I miss any? Let me know in the comments. If you want more Vegas predictions, property deep dives, and what's actually happening, subscribe to Vegas Vault. Hit that notification bell and I'll see you in the next video.